Hello, this is the tradesight Forex Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday, May 31st, 2015, heading into June, and ending Friday, the 5th of June. Hope you had a good trading week. Here's a look at the dollar index daily chart. Got a little bounce the last 2 weeks off of the general area of that red static trend line after the 13 sell signal gave us the top back in April perfectly. And ranges were all right again this week. Not necessarily as good as they've been, but decent. Here's a look at the euro dollar. Came back and then bounced the last 2 days. Looks like the opposite of the dollar index. Obviously, here's the pound a little more negative for the week. Here's the Aussie almost making it back to lows, and that's that red static trend line that's in play there. Here's the New Zealand dollar. Actually broke down to new lows under that 7,200 area and is still falling. And here's the pound yen, which has swept now the highs and potentially getting a 13 sell signal if we get a big move up on Sunday, Monday. Otherwise, that's going to be a recycle of the, there's going to be a new 9-bar setup, which will recycle the count. Unfortunately, because we were getting to an extreme situation there on the pound yen. All right, let's take a look at the intraday action from the week, 30-minute bars. This is the whole week. Euro certainly doesn't look that interesting when you look at it this way. It's only 200 pips of range total. Monday was flat. Tuesday we finally headed lower. Wednesday was some back and forth action. Thursday was fairly narrowly contained in about 100 pip range. Friday was definitely dull. So I wouldn't say this was as exciting as the last few weeks of the euro. The pound a little more interesting, more of a downward bias the whole time, but still only about 260 pips of total range for the week. You can see, generally speaking, the bigger moves were all the downward moves and then little retracements and then a new downward move. So everything was on the short side of the pound this week that worked. Here's a look at the time to analyze the upcoming week, what to expect as we start June, roll into the last month of the first half of the year already, if you can believe that. So we've got the bank holiday in New Zealand on Sunday, Monday. We've got Australia's AIG Manufacturing Index, Japan Capital Spending, Australia's MI Inflation Gauge, China's Manufacturing PMI and Non-Manufacturing PMI, Australia's Building Approvals, Final Manufacturing PMI of Japan, China's same thing, and then Europe's German preliminary CPI going into Monday. Commodity prices out of Australia, manufacturing PMI data out of Spain and Switzerland and Italy and France and Germany and the broad European sector, and then the UK all in a row, each of them spaced by about a half hour. In the morning here in the U.S., we've got the PCE price index. That's an inflationary gauge along with personal income and spending. We've got a Fed member speaking right at the stock market open. We've got final manufacturing PMI 15 minutes in. Got the ISM manufacturing PMI number at 10, that's 30 minutes into the stock market, along with construction spending. And then we've got that night, Monday night, overseas trade index out of New Zealand, monetary base out of Japan, current account out of Australia, average cash earnings out of Japan, 10-year bond auction out of Japan. Going into Tuesday, rate announcement out of the Bank of Australia, bank holiday in Italy, Spanish unemployment, German unemployment, construction PMI data out of the UK, along with net lending and money supply numbers out of the UK and mortgage approvals. The CPI estimate for Europe, that's their inflationary gauge, comes out at 5 a.m. Eastern time with the PPI. UK's 10-year bond auction, factory orders out of the US, TIP, IBD, economic optimism number, GDT price index out of New Zealand, total vehicle sales out of the US, BRC shop price index out of the UK, AIG services index out of Australia, ANZ commodity prices out of New Zealand. Got the GDP number out of Australia for the first quarter. China's HSBC services PMI at 9:45 p.m. Tuesday night. That's Eastern time. Going into Wednesday, nationwide housing price index out of the UK. Services PMI data out of Spain, Italy, France, Germany, the European sector, and then the UK. Spaced out by half an hour each again. Italian unemployment rate info, retail sales out of Europe. I think it's funny that they have a holiday right before they report, in the middle of the week, right before they report unemployment. Retail sales and unemployment rate out of Europe, that's a big number. The ECB, European Bank's going to have a rate announcement at 7:45 a.m. Eastern time, so that's a big one going into Wednesday here in the U.S. ADP non-farm employment change, 8:15 a.m. Eastern time here in the U.S. Trade balance out of Canada and the U.S., those are two of our big three. So that, along with the ECB rate announcement, we will be half size going into Wednesday. Final services PMI here out of the U.S., ISM non-manufacturing PMI, crude oil inventories, our beige book, You jump to Wednesday night, retail sales and trade balance out of Australia, 30-year bond auction out of Japan, Europe's retail PMI, French 10-year bond auction, then the rate announcement out of the Bank of England, so they follow one day behind the European Bank. Got the statement from them. We've got the Challenger job cuts here in the U.S., along with the weekly unemployment claims numbers, revised non-farm productivity and unit labor costs. Canada's Ivy PMI. We've got natty gas out of the U.S., got AIG construction index out of Australia. Now we head into Friday internationally. Japan's leading indicators at 1 a.m. Eastern Time, German factory orders, French trade balance, foreign currency reserves out of Switzerland, Halifax HPI out of the UK, revised GDP out of Europe, and then Canada's unemployment rate and employment change number, labor productivity, and the U.S. unemployment rate, along with the non-farm payroll data, obviously, and then in the afternoon, consumer credit. So that is another one of our big three Fridays. So we will be half size going into Friday, half size going into Wednesday, with two of our big three economic data numbers coming out those days here in the U.S. Other than that, it certainly is a busy week in terms of data. Lots coming out. Hopefully that'll make for a little more exciting week than one we just had. And we are in a new month, so we're free to move around. Everybody have a great weekend and a great trading week. We will be in the lab helping you make money. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. Thanks.